Okay, I'm going to answer a few questions since I have a little bit of time here. Um, but you live in Georgia. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. There's no other identifying things in it. But your son will be 5 this month, and primary wheelchair user, tests cognitively on par with his peers. And so the questions about physical therapy, occupational therapy, and the fact that your son's in a typical preschool, but is receiving services through your school district, your zone school district, um, with regards to, if you want to call it community services, but it really doesn't matter, under preschool. And there's many parents and actually many school personnel that confuse or misunderstand what the preschool rules are. And can I tell you right now that it doesn't matter if your child's 3 to 5 or 3 to 5 within the preschool realm. The definition of what a free and appropriate public education is for them is exactly the same as it is for a child that's 6 through 21. There is no difference. There is no separation between preschool FAPE and regular school FAPE. FAPE is FAPE, free and appropriate public education. And so at that point, actually the preschool years are very, very critical with regards to developmental windows and making substantial gains due to the natural maturation period and how rapid it is during that age time in communication, in physical growth. So in this particular area, your services should be really top heavy in attacking these issues that your child may have with regards to deficits, and the entire purpose is twofold. To get your child to the point where they don't need an IEP. That's part of the thought process, but it's also to get your child ready for a generalized or general education public school experience, okay, or charter school, whatever state you live in, okay, where an IEP can be implemented. Or maybe you don't need an IEP anymore, but if your child does need an IEP, it is all about school readiness and all about school readiness inside of a general education setting. That is supposed to be the entire focus and goal with regards to developing preschool services. Now, when they did your child's initial evaluation and found your child eligible at that point, the school district had a responsibility to offer a FAPE, which is slightly different than when your child is attending, kindergarten on up. All right, and a lot of that has to do with compulsory education laws that you're not mandated. You got to check your state law, so you're not mandated necessarily to put your child in a preschool under penalty of law, like you are in most states when it comes to kindergarten on up. So at that point, because preschool services are optional, then at that point the school system has a responsibility not to design a FAPE, but to offer a FAPE to the parent. And that's offer a free and appropriate public education based upon a thorough and full evaluation that allows everyone to understand the child's deficits and needs. Okay? So it doesn't sound like to me that they offered you a free and appropriate public education. Because if your child is on par cognitively, but most of what their specialized instruction need is also embedded in orthopedic, those kind of areas, then consultative services doesn't cut it. And at that point, your child needs more. And it is an absolute myth. There's multiple ways that physical therapy and occupational therapy can be provided. All right. That is working direct with your child. I've seen it done in small groups. It's very, very rare. Usually what I see is direct the OT or the PT working directly with the child, and then consultative, which is what you're talking about. And that's where the PT comes in and consults with staff, consults with the parent, on stretches, on different exercises that can be done with your child. And to have them sit there and say, well, it's not our responsibility. That's not what we're supposed to do. That's a myth. It's a lie. It's a deception. That is not the case. And if your child requires physical therapy, then by God, your child needs the physical therapy even as a preschooler. And that's direct working with a physical therapist. Now, what I typically like to see is a combination of both. I like to see direct working with the child, and then I like to see a little bit of consultative service carved out so that the PT, with good explanation inside the IEP, along with the OT, has design time that is specific on what it is that they are consulting or training the staff on implementing. So you have direct working with the child on these strategies and on these therapies, okay, for the purposes of habilitation, rehabilitation, acquiring new skills. It doesn't matter. That is the focus. Your child needs to navigate the school. Your child needs that. It is so tied in to your child's ability to make progress in their educational performance areas. I mean, it's just ridiculous to sit there and have them say, well, we don't do that, which I hear. It's a common thing I hear. I'm just saying that I don't like to hear that. It's a myth. So yes, you are more than justified to push back. So I like to see direct with a little bit of consultative service so that there's accountability on the part of both the physical therapist and the occupational therapist, as far as accountability twofold on the PT and the OT, on their responsibilities to ensure that the staff working with your child on all those other days that the PT isn't working with your child is helping your child go through their particular therapy exercises to, maintain their flexibility and their movement and their mobility. So one and write them into the IEP in the service section that way. Direct instruction, direct working with the PT and the OT, and then having some consultative side well explained so that there is time designated and have it worked out. It's not just consultative. It needs to be consultative training, consultative and training, so that the staff understands how to do this correctly, when to do it, when to put it into your child's schedule to do every day, and then have that PT and the OT follow up to ensure that it's being done. So there also needs to be a little bit of data collection being taken and maintained as well. But that's where you come in, you oversee that, and you put that in there. Now, if they won't do that, then yes, you have a very good case for due process. You can get that fixed. And, they'll fix it. I don't know where you are in Georgia, but, let me know. I'm sorry that's happening to you. That just, it's ridiculous what some of these schools are doing to, shave costs and the kind of deceptions. And some of it isn't intentional. Some of it is truly rooted in an ignorance that they don't understand how far those responsibilities go with regards to their requirements to provide services to our kids.